Hi everyone. Hello. Hope you're good. Welcome Sunday night. All that jazz. Bear with me. Do a little bit of messing around. Make sure that I send some information out. There we go. Done. Hope you're well. Now, if you're new to this, please do subscribe, hit the like button. Yeah, all that good stuff. So, we're going to talk about, on Federal Reserve, staking's going live very, very soon. We're going to talk about KUSAMA, because parachains are getting deployed now. And, obviously, Ethereum fee change a little bit. And, obviously, the price rise that we've had. So, hi everyone. Welcome to Learning Crypto. If you're new, if you're used to me on Crypto Mobster channel, hi. If you're not yet used to this channel, make sure you've subscribed. Weekly content, lives on this one. And we also get Operation Crypto doing videos too. So yeah, nice to see you nice. Shame there's no football to talk about tonight, because obviously that game has been called off. Liverpool United. Bummer. But hey, it is what it is. So yeah, if you're not used to this platform, make sure you have checked it out. There's a free course on there and stuff like that. All kinds of good stuff. There's premium memberships. There's freaking courses. There's everything. You know, pretty awesome. But let's talk about the markets first. Not been a bad weekend so far. And obviously I do want to talk about potential dumpage. Ethereum's holding its own at the moment. Bitcoin's been a little bit dumpy early this morning. It came down a little bit, but it seems to be holding quite steady. It's a Sunday going into Monday, and we've had a monthly close. We've had all kinds of weird and wonderful weekly closures as well. Well, there will be a weird and wonderful weekly closure, but we have had a monthly closure, obviously. But the fundamentals are clear. This is a weird month because we've had so much happening in the last few weeks in terms of how things have kind of played out. We've got a really, really strong weekly candle and a really negative sort of bearish monthly candle as well. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll depend on the next few hours. Obviously, Asian market tends to likes to dump things on a Monday morning. So we'll see how things go. Dogecoin, you've probably noticed, still doing really well. People are still pumping it and going for it. Obviously, Ethereum's doing very, very well. Probably going to break $3,000 at some point, or maybe at least test that psychological side of it. Uniswap's doing well, even though the gas fees in Ethereum still relatively high due to those limits. VeChain's having an absolute run again. Absolute top quality asset. Definitely rate it, and definitely a top one for any alt season or any kind of just alt run, essentially. Other things to mention. You got the likes of PancakeSwap gradually just increasing its dominance. And yeah, things are looking pretty decent, looking pretty good. But I do want to talk about a few new assets on this video. Talk about a few little bits and pieces. But yeah, feel free to fire any questions over. I will try and look into things. I have charged my mouse up, so if you hear last time my mouse died, oops. But hey ho. But let's talk about the dominance chart. So, not the greatest of annotations. I have got a better version of this kicking around somewhere on the courses. But if we're looking at the obvious here, and I know some people get it, some people don't, I understand that. It looks a bit of a mess with some of the lines. I'm actually going to tidy this up a little bit, because some of these lines are getting pretty shit. There we go, that'll do for now. So, if you're unsure of how this works, high dominance equals jump into altcoins. Low dominance, you should be riding the wave and then looking to take partial profit into Bitcoin, essentially, if you're looking to stack Satoshis. Now, this is an important line. I've mentioned this in a previous video on my own channel. I mentioned this on the premium Zoom not too long ago. I mentioned it on a number of videos. This level is freaking important. So resistance tap on basically the 1st of April, sorry, give it or take, end of March, 1st of April 2018. We tested that as a support level on the 5th of August, in and around that region on the same year. We've never seen it since. Day, what have we done? So this is the 3-day candle as well, opened on this day, literally 2 days ago now. So we've got 1 day and 6 hours left for this closure. And yeah, that is only the 3-day chart. But when you look at it on the daily, you can kind of see it's already went up, retested it, and kind of came back down again. So this is interesting. Now, the one thing that you've probably noticed on my chart, I have nowhere to go yet. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to find out where we can go, make it more interesting, make it more fun, more engaging for people to understand how to chart something that is totally random. Now, that is a weekly time frame. Now, zooming out, you could probably look at where these levels are, where this wick is, where it's had 1, 2, 3 tests in and around that resistance level. It's not really been acted as support before, so that could be an area of interest. But what I want to do overall with this is do 2 simple fibs. The first fib is from this low to this high and see where the extension leads. Now, the extension leads to 46%, which if I put my crosshair on here, it's pretty much at that point where it's basically opened once and been tested, twice in that corner of a week, essentially. So if I'm putting that across on here, you've literally got 1 wick tap, 1 wick tap, 1 wick tap, 1, 2. That's it. You haven't got much. Not much at all, right? So that is one area we can look at, maybe 46%. We can also look as well at essentially, looks a bit stupid, this one. Where should we go? From this low, maybe? Or from the overall structure? Could do that. Overall structure. There's going to be a 78.6 region in and around here, but I don't really see that as a valuable kind of asset to look at. But for me, that's kind of what I'd go for, realistically looking at that. If we're looking at other areas as well, we can go from this low, to this low, and ultimately what we've got here, we've got this playing out as perfect in terms of the 618 resistance of, well, extension level, but there's nothing really much to go on. If we are going to be really interested in it, we can maybe do this as well. And again, it's in and around where that region is. So we've not really got much to go on other than normal levels of structure, but we could also look as well, the final one is maybe a top level, absolute top, to this low, which is kind of the scary part. We pretty much literally missed off this 618 level, and then obviously off we go. So there's definitely going to be some sort of lower levels down here to look at, but that's the thing with charting an index chart. There's no real point going too deep other than knowing that the lower it goes, the better it is, because actually, you know, there may be a point in time where we might actually go lower than this, or lower than this, you never know. So at the minute, we'll just go off levels of structure. All we've got realistically, that level there, and obviously the bottom. So if we're going to, I'll do it from the bodies to make it a bit easier. That is, in my opinion, what we've got, essentially, if we're looking at certain elements. And yeah, it looks a bit more scruffy now, but at the end of the day, it's all off levels of structure, and it all has some confluence with something in terms of the Fibonacci as well. So it's not too bad. But hey, you know, that's where we can be going for. So again, the route of travel is always be in altcoins when it's going down, and always be in Bitcoin essentially when it's going up, which is usually the best way. If you're looking at like certain key levels from the past, and if we're looking, obviously this is a 2-day chart now, and I put this chart line on before, that's what it looks like on the 2-day chart. So you got multiple taps on this region. You've had it pop up, went in below, rejected it once, rejected it twice, broke through. So it does have some level of significance, which is the next drop point. So 46% could be the next place we could go to. Pretty damn cool. So, hey ho, hi. Questions. I'll answer a few questions before I jump into other things. On Federal Reserve, good buy. I personally think these are good buying levels anyways. I mean, we don't have the greatest of charts on TradingView at the moment because it's only on the Ethereum chart. But, you know, essentially what we're going to get very, very soon is some nice little exchanges, which is going to be pretty important. So, for me, I think this is a great buying opportunity anyways, because either way you look at it, and as fundamentally weird as it sounds, you're going to be having staking hype very, very soon anyways. You're going to have people wanting to lock up their tokens. More and more people that understand and know about it, the more they want to do it. And for us guys, if we're in there now, we can get in on day one. And then 24-hour APY is going to be locked for us, and then every day on from there. And I'll go through the article in a minute in terms of how it works. But at the end of the day, this is not on any tier 1 exchange. There's already 45 million volume, and most of it is on Uniswap and like some really back-end dodgy exchanges which charge quite a lot of money to withdraw anyways. So that in itself is kind of like, hello. When you think about it though, in terms of like staking rewards, that is just one element of it. That's just one part of it, like the start of it. And at the end of the day, more and more people, corporations, banks, treasury funds, etc. are going to be using their platform. And for us, it's just us. Like retail at the start, we're step 1. So that's going to be quite exciting, especially when it's only on, you know, very, very limited exchanges. So be careful with, it's not so much be careful, it's more the fact that don't wish it to come lower because it may not happen. You got to think it's only 3-4 days away. Anything can happen. Like, a load of people can get wind of this. If there's a lot of media going out about it, it could absolutely fly. So if you've never heard of it before, check it out. It's on Federal Reserve. Basically, it's going to be for treasury banks, smaller US Treasury, chartered banks, stuff like that. It's going to be essentially like Compound Protocol in terms of their platform, but also very akin to the world of, AVE and stuff like that in terms of growth and volume, which could be very, very interesting. And it is going out, as you can see here, the 6th of May 2021, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. This is 7 p.m. British summer time. If you're in the UK, obviously make sure you kind of thing. What is classed as a tier 1? Yeah, basically big exchanges. So you've got Gemini, you've got Kraken, you've got Binance, Huobi, Coinbase, I think OKX as well. There's a few others as well I probably can't think of right now. But at the end of the day, life's going to be very, very interesting to see where they go on to. But it's in my opinion, top draw. And I rate it a lot. When I first saw it, when I first got told about it, I was like, I need to look at this. I looked at it and went, and buyed it. Because I watched the AMA with Howard and Crypto Daddy. Brilliant. There was another one as well with someone else, can't quite remember the name now. And that was really, really good. And I watched Howard on one of the DeFi councils in March, which was with like other big DeFi protocols. Absolutely blown away by the knowledge and the information. It's like, Christ, what is this? And at the time, it was only 90 million market cap. And I got in on the dip around 75 million market cap because he had a bit of a runny few days. But there was like less than 1,500 holders at that point. It was absolutely crazy and unbelievable. So in terms of this, right, just to let you know, this is the article. So tell you what I'll do. I'll bung it in comments so you can see it. So if you don't understand what it is and how it kind of works, that is the article. I don't know if it'll work. It does work. Happy days. So is a low quality exchange like Bybit a red flag? What do you mean, Bybit? It's not on Bybit. Bybit's a derivatives exchange. Anyways, moving on. So this is kind of how it'll work. It's got full information. So basically, it's a fork of Compound. If you never used Compound before, check it out. It's really, really good. It's probably one of the better platforms to use for ease of use. You get paid every 15 seconds per the block. APY is locked for 24 hours. It's probably the most secure platform. So essentially, you'll stake it. It'll convert as this on your wallet. So this UN at the front. And then obviously you'll get paid in the token on the way out, which is kind of how it works. And these are the blocks. I'm obviously going through this. I don't want to go too crazy with it. But essentially, total value locked up, right? The more that's locked up, the less the APY will become. So this is why first move advantage is early. Now, I'm not saying everyone go balls deep, be awake, do random things, kick your kids out the window sort of thing at that time. It'll be locked for 24 hours. But at the end of the day, there'll be interest in this. People want to get in. So hopefully for the first coming weeks, especially for the first 2-3 weeks, we may well be experiencing stupidly high APY, with it actually settling down to around 1,500%, which is absolutely crazy. But you got to think as well how it'll work. Now, this is based off $2.70 in terms of pricing. Crazy if this does happen, but obviously we don't know. We genuinely don't know how it's going to pan out and refresh. So maybe we might get about 6-7 weeks of absolutely incredible returns, and it obviously go down to a normal standard rate, and then obviously functionality will work in that way. But at the end of the day, I've already said it, it is not on big exchanges. It is not really fully vocal at the moment. If you go to the explorers and stuff like that, a little bit of a pointer, that obviously since I've covered it, it's gone up quite a lot in terms of like the amount of holders. It's important to understand this as an educational early. And we're talking not on any, like, people are scared of essentially using the likes of Binance and stuff like that. Not Binance, sorry, Uniswap, which is kind of like, you don't want to kick yourself in the balls by not being able to buy something because you're scared of the fees, which is fair enough, but the fees aren't too bad, realistically. So if we're looking at like the DEX trades, there's quite a lot of people buying this at the moment, and the buyers are outweighing the sellers completely, most of it. And if they are they're quite small, versus obviously some of the big ones. Like there's a big buy order there, for example. There's some monster buy orders, so there's definitely interest. So keep an eye on it. Moving on though, let's talk about other things. So I want to talk about KUSAMA. They're happening now. Essentially, the parachains. Obviously, I like KUSAMA. I've mentioned the parachains. I'm more of a dot maxi in terms of that. Obviously, KUSAMA and Polkadot, separate chains, separate identities, separate elements of what they're doing. One of them is more for the wild side of like the experimental project, which is KUSAMA, and Polkadot's more for the establishment in terms of the better, bigger opportunities and probably the obvious, essentially, in terms of winning those parachains. It's going to be important to see what happens now. So if you're looking at this, in terms of this, I think that's a bold prediction, but it's totally possible. When you look at the supply of KUSAMA in terms of where it could go, it wouldn't shock me in the slightest going from $2 billion to $30 billion, essentially, because when you start looking at this, Gavin Wood expects 100 parachains in the relay chain alone for KUSAMA and at least 30 this year alone. That is quite a lot of projects. When you think money going in and how it'll kind of work, it's kind of important to understand that. They have to bid an auction for this, like eBay. It's going to be crazy when you think about it. So that will drive up the price, the demand, and obviously you've got the fact of the relay chain, the fees and stuff like that into the Polkadot ecosystem. Essentially, it's going to get very, very interesting. So you can see here how it kind of works, in terms of the bidding process. Obviously, buy as much KSM for the market and use it for bidding, or run a crowdfund campaign. There's loads of information on it, but I still think, and I've said this before, like I hold KUSAMA. I don't hold as much now. I had to sell some of mine due to personal issues, which I won't go into. So the last one in, first one out sort of thing. But I already was in profit on that. But when we started talking about this, like 3.5 billion market cap, and we're looking at Polkadot, 35 billion. So wouldn't surprise me at all if we're starting to see like a $2,000, $3,000 KUSAMA in the next coming months. It sounds ridiculous saying that, but you got to think of where it could go in terms of a full deployable chain, all kinds of stuff like that. In terms of fundamentals, it definitely works a treat. It's brilliant, and it's had a monster dip. It's had a huge run up to $547, all the way down to like, was it $300? That was a crazy buying opportunity. But yeah, for overall on the chain, I'm pretty excited about it. There's a lot of things happening, and you can see here kind of like why things are kind of looking pretty good. But the supply is tiny when you think about it. Absolutely tiny. Pretty exciting about it, but at the end of the day, everyone, for me, when you look at the chart as well, just to put it out there, I still think, when you look at that dip, and I've said this before, this has got two elements on it. So this has got a 618 tap pretty much, and if we start from this low, obviously on this one, essentially, the other way around, if you start looking at the top side, there's definitely a confluence between this region here, this $700 level, which could be the next point. So we'll see if it does go there. At the end of the day, if I neaten this up, you'll see it. So if we're looking at this level here, up to that point, there could be a point. So in and around resistance level, $4,460, in and around where this region is kind of rejected in the past. But we'll see if we go further. We may well go much, much higher than this, by the way, just to let you know. But we'll see what it does. But if we are looking at the obvious as well, we may, oh dear, come on, Fib, work. If we're starting from this impulse here on the 2-day chart, and that is the top, expect a tap of around 380 maybe, and then we may well have the next leg up towards that all-time high level, which has got good confluence. So this could be the short-term move where we could be going from this point here. I'll remove that arrow so it doesn't look as confusing, and then potentially going much higher up to this point here, which is like the first leg. If we're counting this as the starting impulse wave, if we're starting it. You missed the start, a shame. 7:30 usually, it depends. It kind of varies. It'll probably be, I tend to put it in a little bit of a notice, but this could be the next setup for KUSAMA. It might fly off as well. It might take off like an absolute rocket during the night, but at the end of the day, that is a 2-day chart. If we're looking at the daily chart, this is kind of what it looks like. Neutralish candle, potential top. We'll see if it does pull back. It's already had an impulse here. It's already pulled back to this point as well, but obviously this candle's been much higher, so I'd go from this point. It's a bit more obvious essentially because that's a bit too early. Anywho, shall we talk about Ethereum? So let's talk about this bad boy, this absolutely irritation on my arsehole basically, which is Ethereum. And why is it an irritation? Because it's very, very expensive. It kind of upsets people. And it upsets me. I've been talking about it this morning on my own personal Twitter again. I don't mean to offend people, but I dislike it, the fact that you can put a minimum of $10 in the market and buy Ethereum, but you can't withdraw it because you've got to have $15 to withdraw from Binance, for example, right? Sucks balls, right? But the one thing that's happened over the last week is there has been an element of this, a bit more scalable, more sustainable kind of elements with fees sometimes. I say sometimes because there's times where this is pretty good and there's times where it's absolutely awful. Now, I got stuck in Ethereum on Thursday. So I think there was an IDO on PokerStarter, and essentially what happened was I was sending my money. I was like, oh, 75 will do, because it was much higher than the point of price. I thought, right, that'll do. As soon as I pressed send, it went boom, bang. Fuck, where the fuck? You know, all these gas fees just went crazy, and I was stuck for like 3 hours until it calmed down. Unbelievable. So it annoyed me a little bit, but the reason why the Uniswap side is so much higher is because the gas limit's much bigger. So it's like 3 times the size of the gas limit, or the fees, or point. Fees are the point of process of the transaction, or whatever. It's a weird kind of equation, right? So Uniswap's always the highest, and you got the LP. So this is essentially if you're doing like the likes of Compound and stuff like that. So you got to have like, you know, a smart contract transaction. This is like a normal transfer, if you're wondering, and this is like the Uniswap swap. It's ridiculous, right? And it does suck. And I know people are like, oh, I want to buy this, but it's on Uniswap and I can't do it because it's too expensive, which is fair enough. But sometimes you've got to take the bullet. And the reason why I say that is because the value appreciation of the asset that you may be buying might be worth way more in value getting it on Uniswap versus waiting for it to go onto the likes of KuCoin or Binance or whatever, because it will happen at some point where you'll, like on Federal Reserve, for example, I bought that so early. Buying it now or waiting for it onto an exchange, I'd lose all the appreciation gains, which is kind of pointless. But yeah, in terms of all this, it is slowly getting there, and I am vocal. I always say it. I'm always that cynical kind of person stating that, yeah, I like Ethereum. I stand by it. I've bought it in the past. I love it, but it gets on my tits, right? It really does, and it's like, oh. Like, I just cannot fathom that we've got to this point in this time, in this frame of mind, in terms of another bull run in 2021, and the same issues are apparent. Whereas these are the same issues happened in 2016, 2017, 2018. Sucks, man. But that's, yeah, pain of growth, I suppose. But at the same time, it's a very, very likable chain because it's very, very easy to use, which is why I do think people will like it a lot, especially with the interoperability. When you think of it, you know, in cooperation with the likes of Polkadot, it will make things better, easy for people to kind of bridge with the likes of Zilliqa. It's going to be very, very easy to kind of make the ecosystem of the world of crypto much easier. Anywho, is that biscuit flavored tea? No, it's a coffee actually. I don't really do. I drink about 1 or 2 cups of tea a week, and that's about it. I'm more of a coffee guy, to be honest. Anyways, feel free to throw any questions at me, because I am going to do some technicals. Oops, that is the wrong chart. I'm going to do some technicals on Ethereum before we crack on, because we're at the top of my setup here. We're at the top, essentially, right? So if I was to explain this to an absolute novice, essentially, I went from this low to this high. We pulled back to the 618 on the nose perfectly. And then we had a double tap of it, basically, or triple tap if you can argue with it, and then pop, boom, right? Looking pretty damn good, right? There's other ways of doing this. So you can look from, obviously, this area as well if you wanted to. Again, similar sort of situation. Why is it similar? Because it's hit the 382 on the nose and off we go. Again, not as high. It's one of those things, right? We could look further afield and look further out and go, well, where have we been? What are we doing? But at the same time, we've got to look at certain things. Now, for me, this is kind of a really good setup too. Again, similar situation. From this low, how much have we retraced? We've went up to the extensions. The problem is with this, we don't know how far we can go out, because we're at uncharted territory here. We're like, whoa, boom, look at that weekly candle. It's freaking ridiculous. And it's getting harder and harder to chart because we've got to look at the past. And the only thing we can look from in the past is this. If we go to the log scale, it might look a bit easier. So let me introduce you Ethereum, right? I hope you've met it before. It's pretty cool in terms of price action. Go from this previous all-time high to this low. this could tell us where we could be going. And this is as far as we can only go, right? Realistically, that is as much as I'm willing to put my reputation on the line. There's no real magic buzzword to go. That is it, realistically, right? So you got $3,149 as a potential local top on that one extension. You got another one there at $4,755, and then you got $8,593. That is on the log scale, by the way, just to put it out there. If I take it off log scale, there you go. So you got to look at certain things, right? So take that with a pinch of salt, but we may well be coming to the local resistance level of people potentially diving on us, right? Maybe, we'll see. But am I bullish? Yes. Why? Because there's a lot more people coming into the market. If the fees are reduced, happy days. I want Ethereum to do well because it makes altcoins do well. I am not an investor in Ethereum, though. I hold most of my equity in Polkadot, Zilliqa as a competition, but I do hold some Ethereum for gas fees and stuff like that. I run a lot of my yield in terms of like making money with like a Swissborg USDC and that. Obviously on Federal Reserve, using the Ethereum chain though, which is kind of important. So yeah and no, happy days, one of those things. But that is like, that's realistically, that's all we can do. We can't do anything else. You can't really make it up. There's other things that you can do and it looks a bit crappy, but I'll look at the other scenario here. You can go from this low, right, essentially, from this low to this high, all the way across, boom. But what does that give us? Well, $900. You know, there's nothing much to go on realistically. So kind of a bit sucky, but at the same time, it's one of those things. Looks mental. Wow. Already this month. Ooh, it's only 2 days. Crazy. Anyways, questions. I'll try and do some technicals for some stuff. Depends if I like it or not. I can hear people outside. Vandals. But yeah, if you're not yet like this video, make sure you do. It's a very, very small channel. You've probably noticed it's nicer. I prefer a smaller channel because I get less knobheads. Shall we have a little look at B Pro? Oh, if I can spell it right. So I covered it, or can only do Bitcoin Satoshi level. Oh dear. Hold on. Is that all I've got? Ooh, hello. So this looks like a good buying opportunity already on the naked eye. The reason being, I had a monster pump. Now, it's been a while since I covered this, so I'm not sure what sort of information's been released in terms of fundamentals. But if you're looking for a buy order and you're wanting to like buy something kind of like undervalued essentially and not the top, this is probably as far as you're going to get, really, or unless you obviously bought down here. Now, let me just have a little look at something before I get my knickers in a twist. Because I have covered this, and I did on the surface, I liked this token, but at the same time, it's wow, it's only 27 million market cap, it's got $5 million in value. But is it NFTs and gaming, DeFi gaming and stuff like that, isn't it? Now, if it is predominantly NFTs, you've probably noticed the NFT world has fallen off a little bit of a cliff recently. I don't think it is fully NFTs, but it's kind of the DeFi gaming style. Now, it's got decent backers, decent partnerships already. You can see that it's obvious, but is it too early? Is it too early for the gaming world, the DeFi, to kick off? Now, this could be one or two things. Too early, you may have to wait a bit for a better buy opportunity, or secondly, you might be in at the perfect time. For me, I'm not going to be looking at investing in this because I've got too many things, but at the same time, looking at it, it's got a nice sleek design. It's got an actual use case. It's only got 8,500 holders, so you could probably presume you are pretty early on this. But at the same time, this is kind of important. The future of DeFi gaming is important, and it kind of makes to me that this is nowhere near ready yet. So this might be an opportunity for, like, in my terms, like looking at it from the outside looking in and not doing too much research early, right? And I know a lot of people are touting it, I know a lot of people are going for it, but it did have an absolute hype run. So if you felt you missed the boat, I don't think you have now if you think about it that way. But at the end of the day, there's not much information on this website regarding it. That's the only downside. If I'm looking at this, go to the About Us page. Yeah, there's some information here, which is nice to see. But where's the white paper? Where's all the kind of information? I want to kind of see that before I even go any further. That's the only downside. So for me, yeah, looks great. in terms of on the naked eye, but you've got to do a much bigger deep dive because there's no real kind of element of like white paper here or anything like that. So yeah, just be cautious on it. But if you back it and you like it and you've done your research and you understand it more than me, obviously crack on. But the fundamentals, you know, you may well need more information. But at the same time, you could be very, very early to that, very, very early. But looking at it from the outside looking in, you know, you've missed the hype run, you missed the potential getting wrecked here and buying the tops. You know, this could be quite a nice settled area to buy, but be careful because if there isn't a product, if there isn't a white paper, if there's certain sort of delays or issues in terms of getting that network out, there may be more losses to come, but who knows? That's the thing. It's the beauty of investing at the moment, which is kind of cool. Technicals on Polkadot. Yeah, it's boring. It's good. Wait out because I think this is going to explode soon with the KUSAMA, Polkadot, and all kinds of elements of the parachains coming out. It's in a consolidation range at the moment. Kind of. It's like a bit wishy-washy. It's not the greatest in the world, but in my opinion, I think this is undervalued. When we look at this, and I laughed at this before, guess what's higher than Polkadot? Dogecoin. It's like, so $34 billion. I think this is undervalued. In my opinion, I think when you think it's literally that's 10x away from Ethereum right now. 10x. So do I think Polkadot's 10x, you know, better? In my opinion, in terms of technology, yes, because it's got the sharding elements already. It's got the way it works is totally different. Interoperability to multi-chain. It's going to have stuff that Ethereum won't have. That's important. So when you get the parachains going live, that could be very, very interesting. But when we're looking at the technical side of it, there's nothing really much happening other than the fact that this is the top, this is the low. Literally, essentially what we're looking at here is this is a potential support level, and we may well be looking at a run up to maybe $50, maybe higher than that on the next point of this. But that is kind of the most backwards fib you're probably ever going to see. If we're going to go from a much lower standpoint, and let's just say, I don't know, where did we go from here maybe to the top? We hit the 618 on the nose pretty much, right? So if we're looking at that 618, we've had, you know, essentially, if we're looking at like multiple levels of tappage, it's been tapped a few times, even with that as a top. So we actually could be looking $57, $69. So I think it's undervalued. That's my opinion. I'm pretty biased, I'll be honest with you. On Polkadot, I do like it a lot, and I think it is undervalued. But at the same time, we've got to look at the reasons why it's undervalued. There's not much heat, there's not much hype and pressure about it at the moment because parachains are just sitting there waiting to go. When KUSAMA have theirs and they start running it on, there's a bit more hype building. If KUSAMA takes off and people understand the gravity of what they've got to do to get the auctions, I think Polkadot will follow it at some point. So that'll be interesting to see how it does happen and if it does happen. But overall, we'll see. Do you expect Ethereum to push after 3K? Oh yeah, I think so. Psychological level of 2K was interesting. We hit 2K and we rejected massively off that and went down to 1400 again. Obviously flew back up, but we'll see. It's psychological, isn't it? It's a psychological level, and a lot of people want to be involved in Ethereum. And I think the catalyst for Ethereum, and I said it on a tweet recently, is it's not sound money yet. The reason why it's not sound money is because it doesn't have a maximum cap. If that's fully voted in and fully in the code, that a maximum supply and a burning mechanism's coming in July, potentially in the, I think it's the London upgrade or whatever it is, or the EIP 1559 or whatever. If that happened, it's going to change the game massively for Ethereum, and I think, pop, you know, it becomes money then. Anyways, I'll try and flick through a few. I don't want to go too few many. What are your thoughts on Trias? They have huge, not really a fan of it. I've mentioned this before, right? I'm dubious of these, and yeah, it looks good on the offset because they're a team with huge credentials in terms of, is it Trias? There we go, this new one here. So I looked at this and I thought, something doesn't really meet the eye. Now the reason why I say this, and it's not to be a dick, but these are technically, if you look on the roadmap and stuff like that, they've been around since 2016. And they've only just been listed on KuCoin on this new token. And I just can't quite fathom and put my finger on why it's only on one exchange, why I've never really heard of it before, and why it's only 10 million market cap with what they claim to have. And I think that's an important thing. Now, where is it? Like, there's a thing, is it developer? There's something on here that kind of didn't... I don't know where it is now. I'll find it. So on the offset, it looks quite good, but it just... literally every tweet, I get someone asking about this, and I just don't get it. And it may well be one of those diamonds in the rough, but it also may be something like, hold on a minute, they've just made a new coin. It seems a bit odd. Here we go, here's a team. So the team here, PhD in Oxford, all kinds of stuff like that. And I just don't know. It's great seeing that, but there's no links to anywhere else. There's no way of you got to go and pretty much verify this. Roadmap, so there you go, 2016. This was when it was kind of in and around, and there's, in my opinion, a lot of research has to be on a project like this, because it just seems very strange. It seems that it's launched on just one exchange, and it's only 10 million market cap, and it's been around for this long. It's got so many partnerships, and not so much partnerships, but it's just got where are the partnerships? Yeah, there's a lot to unravel with it. This isn't an easy one to research, in my opinion. I think you got to really do a deep dive on this. And for me, I just don't understand it. I just don't understand how a project that has claimed to be around for so long has only got 60 million volume on one exchange, which, yeah, doesn't look great. 10 million market cap. And, let's have a little look. Ooh. There's only 323. This is where you start unraveling it. I'm not going to make people cry, am I? That doesn't look like the same token supply, does it? That doesn't look right. But anyways, regardless, there's only 10 million tokens, 1.6 million in circulation. So you got to look at that and figure that out. There's loads to unravel with this, so just be careful with that one, because I've never trusted rebrands of old projects, because it always hype pumps things. It always makes things go crazy. The one thing we can always count on in crypto, a rebrand and mainnets always make them pump. It just doesn't matter what they are. It's just the way it is. It's just the way crypto works, essentially. It's just a weird one. But you've got to unravel that. You've really got to do your deep diving on that. Some of them are really easy to find. Some of them are really not. Like that, there's no links to anywhere. You've got to really find that person, because it could be a lot of bollocks for all you know. You don't know. Oh, other questions. What have we got? How to do a correct fib on the daily on Ethereum. I'll try. Someone said that I do my fibs wrong, which was quite funny. So you got two ways of doing it. There's a right way and a wrong way. No, there's two ways of doing it, right? So in an uptrend, for me, this is how I do it, right? This is, everyone's different. I always do them from the most obvious point, the obvious impulse. So if we're looking at something here, and let's just look at this here, right? So I'll remove the bits. You start seeing this horrendous wick. You think, ooh, hello. And you want to kind of see this. You're thinking, oh, it's a pump. Now, you know already this is an uptrend, because it's forming. It's at higher highs, higher lows, right? And even still, this is still a higher low. It's not gone lower than these points. It's not created a lower high or whatever kind of stuff, right? So what you've got, the first move is obvious. You've got to go from the low to the high, and you've got to see where it retraces to. You can see here it went to the 618. Now, in terms of the settings, I have my settings unticked reverse, because if you do it the other way around, it looks a bit weird. And that's the one way of doing it. So in an uptrend, you go from the low to the high, and it'll retrace back. So this is 38% of a retrace of that move, and then 61.8. This is a golden ratio. So every impulse, essentially, it's kind of like a derived thing of Elliott wave and other bits and numbers and maths and weird shit. It's too much to get into. It's ridiculous. So that pulls back to a number. If to look to the extension point, it went up to basically this extension, and obviously it went beyond this extension, but actually fell below it until it pulled back again. So that's important. Now, there's another way of doing this as well. The other way is how far can it bounce, essentially, the bounce drop. And what I talk about the bounce drop is, if you go from the high to the low, you want to see where the resistance levels are. Now, you can see already, it pulled all the way down. This is the low. Boom. It found resistance at this 38.2. 1, 2, 3, 4 days, it failed to break that. It dropped back low, got a little bit of liquidity, then went boom, bang, right through it. And again, it went through the 618, but it found support on the 618. If I zoom to the right and look at it, This was held as support for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 days, dropped below it to the 382, then off it went again. So basically, they're both important, right? There's two ways of doing it. Now, if you're looking at this as well, you could trade off this because you want to know where the extensions are. You can see already these extensions are somewhat important. You can see where they've kind of went. And look at that. That's 1.68, 2,500 on the nose on the 16th of April, turned around and went, nah, fuck you. You know, they're all important. It's all maths. It's all numbers. I love the fib. It's great. It's ridiculous. So there's two ways of doing it. You know, personally, I like to look at, as I said, I like to look at the most obvious impulse. So you can trade off these. So if you go from this point here, thinking, oh, cool, right, what's this? You know, if you're looking at a certain point, look for the obvious turning points. Now, again, if you're looking at this, you know, why is this important? Because you've hit this level where it's kind of stopped and turned around twice. It literally tapped just about on the wick, this 382, which is a previous all-time high. And again, what happened? Boom, right up to this top 618. And that's me without any kind of like pre-planning and showing you this. You've literally put that question on. Just shows you how you can. I could get lost for days talking about the Fibonacci, going through all combos of impulses and showing you where they stop. Crazy. And when you start looking at that, it's like, ooh, wow, that's pretty cool. But yeah, it's powerful. It's like the way to use it, in my opinion, use it with structure. So if you've, in my opinion, like these are levels of structure on my chart. So these aren't really Fibonacci points. They've got confluence with them, but essentially they are structure. So if you're looking at this point here, that's a previous all-time high. It's been retested once here as a resistance, and then it's been support. That's an important level. Now, again, if we're looking at this point here, and I just showed you it, you know, this could be the next point because this is the next impulse wave. What happened recently? Well, guess what? We popped. This was a 620. This was my actual setup, what I started off on this video with. This was it. Simple. And this is where we are, top, and we haven't got much to go on because we need to wait for this impulse. So if we're looking at the next move, by the way, and let's just say imaginary top here, this is the top. This could be the start of the move, or you could probably argue from this wick maybe, depends on how you want to go for it. Let's just say that is the top. We could be looking at a retracement. Now we've got to look at where this level is. This is important. So the next move could be, now obviously this is all hypothetical, so don't go, you were wrong. When this body closes, I always wait for another red candle. I like to show the obvious top, and if it is the obvious top, boom, because that could happen. And then the next extension points potentially could be up to these 3,000. So this could be the next move, potentially. Obviously, take it with a pinch of salt because that isn't a closed candle. But you can see kind of how these impulses work. And, you know, it works the same in a downtrend as well. If you're thinking of downtrend and how things go down. So if I go into the likes of Bitcoin, for example, here. It's easy to show this on Bitcoin. So what happened with Bitcoin? So this is kind of what I'm plotting out. This is like a random move that I'm seeing if it plays out as I would. It's hit this top level. It's pulled back a little bit. Yay. But when you start looking at shorts, you can do it the other way around. So on a short opportunity, if you are going short, you go from the high, go to where the previous, you know, the dump was, essentially, or where it stopped. You know, you've got these as resistance levels. And again, these are your extension levels for potential targets. So again, when you start thinking trend analysis, you've got an uptrend where it goes upwards like this, where it pulls back and it goes higher. So that's an obvious uptrend. Oh my God, terrible. And then you got the obvious on the downtrend. So the downtrend will be it bounces back up. But remember, on the bounce, you can also trade longs on the bounces because they go up higher and you've got a point of reference of where they could go. So again, with this, that's what could have happened basically. That's the thing. People think, oh, the bottom's in. Then it's like, oh, oh, it's a correction pattern. And the correction pattern's always kind of risky to kind of jump in, especially if you're going long. But, you know, long as you see a solid impulse, it's not too bad. So what we're seeing here, by the way, just to give you a pointer as well, this is important to look at. So we've had this impulse. Like people will be like aping into this and then not realizing this is going to pull back. Why is it going to pull back? 618, not 618 level, sorry. The level of the EMA is important, but you got to think, look left, because you got to think, well, why is it kind of pulled back? And it's kind of obvious when you start putting fibs on it. When you start looking at this, it's hit that 382 perfectly, but this level here alone has been tapped 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times essentially as support levels into the 382 region. And where did it tap? It tapped this previous level of all-time high levels, pretty much. This old all-time high level, which is in between the Fibonacci levels, essentially, and a load of consolidation range in between that point. So it's always going to be sticky. So what could happen now? Essentially, this could actually just pull back a little bit more, and then we may well go up and retest all-time high. But this is starting to form an uptrend. But this could, I know I'm getting really deep into this now. If you're looking at this as well, this could be also resistance for a potential downside move. This has hit the 618 on the nose. This could, if it wants to, and if we're going really bearish on this, by the way, this could form a lower low down here. So we got, you know, high, lower, low, and a potential another lower low down here. That could be like the ultimate bearish scenario. I might leave that on my chart and see how it goes. There's two scenarios. There you go. Perfect YouTuber explanation of how the fib works. Could go either way, basically. At this point, in my opinion, I think it's more bullish than bearish because of the way that, you know, the market is. But, you know, correction-wise, you got to think Bitcoin still, it's quite high. It realistically is quite high. Has it retraced enough? I'm not sure. You got to think, yes, it has retraced a bit, but it's still in an uptrend. It's still formed that, you know, that higher lows essentially. It's not gone below this previous point, which would be interesting to see if it does tap it. But that'll be some scary drop if that does happen. People will absolutely shit themselves, in my opinion, anyways. And no, I'm not going to leave it on there. I'll wait. I'll wait and see if it does form the next point. But anyways, other questions, feel free to jump along. Oh, there's a few questions. I like having this nice, small, condensed. It's way easier. You wanted to give a tip. Unfortunately, this channel doesn't have monetization yet. It will do soon, though, hopefully. Then you can feel free to tip us next week at some point. Loving the content, more useful than Bitcoin. Talking utter shite. Well, yeah, I won't go into that. Wave Enterprise is decent. I've not looked at it for a while. I do know that they are English, British. They are. Let's have a little look. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I'm not sure if this is. Is it? I don't know. Let me just look. I don't want to jump the gun because if it is a part of Waves, it'll be British, won't it? I've not looked at Waves for a long time. Ooh. I'm gonna get lost now on some random. Some random projects, which is always fun. There's too many projects at the minute. Like I've said this too many times now, and I know people get bored of it. But there's so many projects at the moment, and you gotta pick them. You're gonna find, and I've said this a lot now. You probably heard me say this before. You're gonna find there will be opportunities in the market. There'll be people that'll be like, right, I can make a coin called Sausage Coin or something on those lines, and you'll find that there are opportunities. Now, I see this all the time. People want me to talk about certain coins, and you look at them and you're thinking, really? Like student coin, for example. Why? You know, there's certain things down here that are somewhat pointless. Like the good in some ways, but they've got a life. In my opinion, you got to think a longer life term. So if you're thinking a coin will do well in a bull market, fair enough. But at the same time, you got to think, well, where the coin's going to do well in the next bull market and going to survive the bear market. They're the ones you got to kind of look at and keep an eye on. If you can find those ones, you're laughing. But there's a lot of opportunities at the moment, and you've got to be careful. Other questions? Polkadot exit plan. I'm holding. I'm buying more. I'm going to be staking it. I already stake quite a lot of it, and I'm happy to hold it. I class Polkadot as a core hold at the moment. We'll see how it goes. TrueBit protocol. What is that? Oh, new token. Is it even going to be on? Oh, hello, it is. Oh, TRU. I've seen a lot of people talk about this. This is exploded, hasn't it? And it's got a load of holders at the moment. Yeah, I think the holders have went absolutely crazy on it. I've never looked at it, though. Not even looked at it. Oh, it's like every day there's a new... Whoa, it's up. It's not been on CoinMarketCap for a while. Is it any good, though? What is it? Ooh. Is the website going to work? The website's a bit guff, isn't it? Scalable, trustless computation. Smart contracts to securely perform complex computation. What? That's waffle. I want to invest, not learn. Wow. Yeah, you know when you say, like, you know when I tell people research takes a couple of days, this might be a week one. Dear me. There's a lot of information to digest there. I don't know. There's a lot of hype about it. At the same time, though, it could be really good, but you've got to understand it before you jump in. And also, I've got to understand it before I talk about it. But I've always said this about any project. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do, all kinds of good stuff. If you cannot understand the project within the first 5 seconds or 10 seconds, you've got to really dig deep. Because some websites, you're like, oh, cool, happy days, it's nice and easy, it flows nice. And some are like crazy. And this is like, that's a very old white paper. It's not been around that long, has it? There's a lot to get your teeth into this one. I like the style though. I like how it looks very similar to the Bitcoin white paper. I think that's always a nice nod. But it's fucking boring to read. You're gonna have fun reading this. Yeah. Genuinely. You've maybe got at least a week of research on this one, I think. So yeah, no idea. I'll see who do videos on it and stuff, and I might have a little look at it, but I don't have the time of the day to kind of read through a 32-page white paper. Do you think IDO space are getting set? Yes. Every ICO, every IDO, every whatever else the EDO bloody nursery around these days are going to get saturated. It's a money grab opportunity. It's the bull market. It's like, oh, I'll make a coin for this, even though there's like 50 of them anyways, but people have not maybe heard of them. We'll make a new nice shiny one, put a new website on it, put some geek in charge of it, and it'll do well. The problem is you're going to find that, and you're going to find it a lot in the market, and you're going to find some of these IDOs will do well for like 2 months, and then they'll just fall off a cliff. You've got to have solid backers, solid teams, solid infrastructure, solid tokenomics, solid enterprise platforms, and people actually backing them. And if they're not backed by real bodies of people, they're just going to fall over. And that's the thing. The space only has room for so many people. We're only at $2.2 trillion. You know, we've got 9,527 recognized coins, and there's more than that actually, but they're not on CoinMarketCap because they do have some sort of listing protocol. So just be careful with jumping in. Like, yeah, some people are very, very successful, but they're trading them. They're not buying them to hold forever. They're buying them because it's a money option. It's hype. Hype always makes money. It doesn't matter what you are, what you do. If you're an investor in stocks, if you're an investor in certain elements in terms of just normal life, hype brings prices up. Talking before in the group chat about Prosecco, I looked it up. People take the piss out of me for drinking Prosecco. Found out in 2019 it was the most popular drink in the UK. What is it? The following year it was gin. You know, everything has a little hype cycle, right? So yeah, for me, the IDO markets and stuff like that are great for making money if you have no emotion. You're like, right, what's my allocation? Gonna buy it, gonna swap it, happy days. If you do like the token and it goes down to a much lower price and you want to buy it in the future, crack on. But, you know, at the same time, people are doing the same thing. They're buying it to then sell it because that's how they raise money. You know, they raise the equity that way. It's kind of it's impressive how they do it because you are an early investor. But that's how they fund it, and that's why I like on Federal Reserve, because there's been no ICO or anything like that. It's been quite good. It's kind of nice. It's rare. Photon Revolution Propel. Is that how you say it? Popul? Oh, God. Rev. That is a weird name, isn't it? RVP. There's so many people talking about this one too. I hate doing lives because people just give me coins to look at. There's only one thing, and I've said it 20 million times. There's too many coins, right? How are we doing? Some random wallets there to look at. Cool. Yeah, for me, probably another one that I probably won't touch because I physically can't at the end of the day. I like the website though. That's pretty cool. This guy looks really interesting. Is that the same guy? Looks nothing like him. I know there's a few people talking about this quite a lot. And I know the people that talk about it also have a lot of good track records in terms of what they say, in terms of early adoption projects. Now, this is relatively early, obviously. There's only, 6,000 holders, which is kind of new. 100 million market cap. The only thing that I have a little bit of a red flag on is where's the rest of the tokens. Obviously, we're seeing a wallet with a load kind of locked up, essentially, so they obviously verify where they're going, what they're doing. But yeah, that's all I want to say on it. I don't really want to go too much on it because I don't know much about it. Obviously, I've not read the white paper. The white paper is probably going to be huge. I'm going to guess it's huge. 20 pages, not too bad. But still, you can't just unpick them on a live at the end of the day. So, no comment. Might be alright, might be good. I don't know. It's too much to go on. It's ridiculous, realistically. What's happening in the market? Bitcoin's dropping a little bit. Cool. For long-term investments, say like Zil, do you put stop? No. Stop losses? No. At the end of the day, you can't put stop losses on investments because they should be in a hard wallet. They should be away. Like you could stake Zilliqa and earn 15% or whatever. You know, if you're in the mindset of having a panic because something's going to drop, the only way to make more in a bull market is buy the dip. That's it. Like yes, you can take partial profits at tops and stuff, but the partial profits, and it may not be the top. Like looking at Zilliqa, I've been taking little bits off here and there, but I've been in below a cent at the end of the day. Like that looks a right mess. I'll remove that so it doesn't look too random. So looking at Zilliqa, looking great, right? Great, happy days. But at the end of the day, I've been in this so long now. I'll remove all that junk. I've been in since like this time, like down here, like ridiculous low levels. You know, at the same time, I've been taking partial profits, but my intention is not to buy low, sell high, then rebuy low, because if I miss it, I miss it. For me, the only way to do it is wow, look at you, Trust. The only thing to look at is the fact that yes, you can buy dips and stuff. It does happen. But if you miss out, you miss out. You're better off, in my opinion, buying with fresh capital if you've got a good buy order, because there's nothing better than taking profits and moving that profit into other lower cap coins. That's the way I do it and the way it works for me. Like on Federal Reserve, I bought that with profits from other things. It's like, yeah, great profit into that low cap coin, no risk. Boom, it's already kind of made my money. It's made my portfolio grow. But when you start thinking long term, you got to think, well, if you've say been holding this since a cent and you've not took anything off at 20 cents, like, whoa, what is wrong with you? You've got to take something off the table, even though it could go to $1. It might not. You've got to take and secure something, even if that is your buy-in, your stake money, essentially the starting point. It's important to do that. And when we think about it in terms of logic, it's like this is where the biggest money is lost. It's money on the table. So always do something. Why is this pumping? Woohoo! That's an old fib. I'd ignore that. Pardon me. Wow. Something's gone. My old man will be happy. He has you, Trust. Me coming from a computer techie back? No. New. Well, I did an A-level in IT back in school, but it was nothing on this level. Nowhere near. It's literally shit. It's rubbish. Thoughts on Link? Undervalued as hell, and I don't know why it's not moved yet. Like, I've charted this for quite a few times now, and I'm like, yes, it started to kind of rumble up a little bit, but is it going to pop? I don't know. I think the oracles are going to explode at some point. I don't know when, though. We'll see. At the end of the day, $40 for Link is somewhat criminal at the moment. Again, this is a potential setup here where we've gone from this low to this high and I've did a video on this basically, and I think we are going to see at least $50. It's just scary that you look at Link being so dominant in 2020 and now it's like just sat there like a freaking statue basically. I'm waiting for it to pop. It's going to go at some point eventually, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see. Is this going to be a super? I don't know. I personally believe, and I've said this before on a video, I think we're going to run until summer next year. I think that's a bull cycle. Yeah, they're the retracements, there's a starting point and stuff like that. But for me, I think the bull market started literally here when the structure broke from this point. So we're looking at like roughly July 2020, where it kind of, in my opinion, that's where, if I go to log scale, you'll see it. There you go. Boom. So if we're looking at potential break of structure, it was literally like here, July time. Previous bull market, that lasted for, bear market, sorry, that lasted for 800 days. This one here, where's that? There he is. It's down here somewhere. I don't know how long that lasted for. Oh, sorry, it's at the top. 827 days. And if we're looking at this, we're currently what? How many days are we? Go from this point to where we are right now. Oh, that's a wrong freaking thing. Stupid. Bear with me. Where is it? I'm trying to find all the things now. Oh, God. Oh. Date range. There we go. So we're currently only literally 300, in my opinion, 300 days in, right? I think in terms of bull market, I think we're going to go a bit longer. Now, if we're looking at where I think it's going to end, and people, I don't know, it's fine. If we're looking at like summer next year, and we're looking at previous kind of 700 days-ish, 750 days, that could be where it could end, potentially. Potentially. But that's only off the models of the previous, right? That could be totally different. It could be different things and different elements that could change that completely, right? That's only from that data point as well, roughly similar sort of time in terms of bear market too. So it's important to note, but I know a lot of YouTubers are telling us that, well, I wouldn't believe a YouTuber. Don't believe me neither. Do your own research. But they're saying September is going to be the end. I just can't, you can't put a date, you can't put an end date on it. It's all approximations and what ifs and all kinds of scenarios. Something could happen tomorrow and it'll be like, oh, okay. But these are the dips, by the way. So the average is about, what, 35% dips. We just had a 32% dip and now we're at the top again. Happy days. You know, don't panic too much. But for me, I think the bull market is nowhere near there yet. But at the same time, we'll see. Anyways, I want to end in a minute. I'll answer a few more questions and I'll end it because I've been rambling on for an hour now. I've not looked at BSC Station. I do need a look. RSI, buy it. It's awesome. I rate it highly. I think I said this for ages. I think RSI is undervalued. It's still lower than where it was in August, September time in Satoshis. It's in a nice little uptrend. It's starting to look pretty good. It's got support levels looking pretty awesome. I'll remove the log scale so it looks a bit better. There we go. Refresh, there you go. So for me, research on RSI is vitally important to understand why it's doing. There's still no mainnet yet. There's still no real functionality of the token, apart from the fact obviously it is getting used in other countries and stuff, and it is on the App Store and it's trending quite high. There's no mainnet yet, so it's only a traditional ERC20 at the moment, so it's not got the full functionality. So, you know, I'm expecting a lot more. If we're looking at market cap of RSR as well, I know this is really important for some people, but I think this is criminally under. It's only 1.1 billion. I know it sounds quite a lot, but at the same time, it's ranked 93. There's a lot of crap in this market with no use case much higher than this, which is baffling. And I think this is criminally undervalued, and I do rate it very, very highly. 46,000 holders. I mean, I think this is an absolute daddy for the future, but it needs a mainnet. It needs that adoption of people. In some ways, the countries that are going to benefit are going to be in the worst situations of their lives, but it's going to help them so much, and I think that will massively help the token value, so I do like it a lot. Anyhow, I'm going to go now. I hope you enjoy. Let me know if you've subscribed and liked and stuff. Please do. Make sure you have. Nice and small, nice and quick. But yeah, every Sunday, roughly about 7 PM UK, 7:30 give or take, we will be going live, and there'll be 2 or 3 videos during the week as well from myself and Andy, well, Operation Crypto. So yeah, hope you enjoy, and I'll probably catch you again next Sunday.